many of you had this experience? You say to your friends, I'm going on a permaculture course. Oh, that's interesting. What's that? Okay, well, this might help. Permaculture is, of course, permaculture has been and continues to be practiced by people all over the world for thousands of years who don't actually call it permaculture. But as a word, as an idea, it started with two Australians in the 1970s, Bill Mollison and David Holmgren. And they compared natural ecosystems with farming. And so they looked at typical natural ecosystem in any part of the world where there's enough rainfall for farming is forest or woodland. And you have tall trees, you have shorter trees, you have shrubs and bushes, you have climbers, and there's all the roots down below, of course. A huge amount of vegetation, different sizes, different shapes, different functions. And they compared that with the typical agricultural system, say a wheat field, about 1 metre high, even shorter with modern short varieties, one single species, and there's much less biomass production per year, actually. You know, okay, in the woodland you've got the accumulated biomass from previous years of production because it's perennial, but even so the actual annual production of plant and animal matter in the natural ecosystem is far greater than it is on the wheat field. Not only that, but the wheat field requires an awful lot of work. You have to start by clearing away the pre-existing vegetation, then you have to plough, harrow, sow, do some kind of weed control, some kind of pest control, in many parts of the world irrigation. And at the end of the year you harvest and you have to turn around and do it all over again. Meanwhile, the natural ecosystem requires nothing but a bit of sun, a bit of rain, and the rock from which it makes its own soil. And meanwhile, of course, the wheat field is actually losing soil by the process of soil erosion. How happy we would be, they said, if we could create systems which produce our food, which have the high yield, the low need for external inputs, and the lack of negative ecological impact of the natural ecosystem, but, and there's always a catch in it, you know, the catch in the natural ecosystem is that very little of it is edible. So with the high proportion of edible yield of the wheat field, because the wheat field, 50% of the biomass is high quality human food, and that's why we do it. So the challenge of permaculture, the aim of permaculture, is to combine those two, to produce systems that have all the advantages of the natural ecosystem, but yet are edible. I mean, and okay, there is some food in a natural ecosystem, but very, very little. You have to wander around and find it from here to there. So, in a phrase, we could say that the aim of permaculture is to produce edible ecosystems. So, when I say edible, it's a sort of a shorthand for meeting all of our needs. You know, we need other things besides food. We need clothes and buildings and so on and so forth. But that's the idea, is to combine the advantages, or let's say to take natural ecosystems and transform them. Or take the idea of a natural ecosystem and try to reproduce that in such a way that it will make that it will produce us what we need, our food and so forth.